Okay, but seriously, who hasn't belted out Waterfalls at the top of their lungs, like at least once? It's practically a rite of passage.
Oh, for sure.
But for this deep dive, we're going way past those karaoke memories, right?
Absolutely.
We're trying to figure out why this song became such a phenomenon and what that says about the 90s in general. What was in the water?
Yeah. It's more than just nostalgia, that's for sure. And we've got some excerpts here about the song, about the music video. And honestly, like, even I learned new things prepping for this. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so set the scene for us. 1995, what's the vibe?
Okay, so on the surface, right, you got the excitement of, like, the early internet, you know, the world's kind of changing.
Right, right.
But if you look a little closer, there's, like, this economic uncertainty, right? People are wondering, like, what's the future hold? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And some really, really serious social issues were, like, weighing heavily on everyone's minds.
Yeah, this wasn't like your typical boy band breakup song era.
No, not at all. The AIDS crisis was raging. The crack epidemic was devastating communities.
Right.
And these anxieties were everywhere.
Yeah.
And then TLC arrives on the scene, and they're not shying away from any of it.
See, and that's what always gets me. They could have gone for, like, the easy listening route, you know, just, like, fun bubblegum pop.
Right, right.
But they chose to meet these issues head on.
Exactly. And they spoke directly to those anxieties. And I think that's a big part of why, you know, people connected so strongly to this music, you know? It was like TLC was acknowledging their reality in a way that few artists were at the time.
Totally. And they were doing it as women, which, you know, back then, that came with a whole other set of rules to break, let's be honest.
Absolutely. And it's easy to forget now, but, you know, being a female group, addressing those topics on MTV, no less, like, that was revolutionary.
It was unheard of.
Yeah, they paved the way for so many artists who came after them.
And speaking of revolutionary, can we talk about that music video? I mean, come on, that underwater world, those stories woven together, it was pure 90s magic.
Yeah, 90s masterpiece is more like it. Our source mentions the director, Paul Under. He was really key in bringing those cautionary tales to life, like visually.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like flashy visuals. There was like a depth there, like a commentary on the choices we make and, you know.
Oh, totally. It wasn't subtle, like the whole waterfall metaphor, like, hello, danger ahead.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such effective social commentary. It grabs your attention with the music and the visuals.
Right.
And then it hits you with these, like, real raw stories about the consequences of our actions.
You just don't see that level of depth in a lot of music videos these days, even today.
You really don't.
Yeah.
And it made people think. It made them feel. And that brings us to the heart of, like, Waterfalls' impact.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't just a song. It was like starting a conversation about things that people were maybe afraid to talk about openly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
people were really hungry for that because it wasn't just a hit. It dominated the charts for, what was it, like 7 weeks?
7 weeks at #1 on Billboard.
That's insane.
It's huge. And that's a testament to how deeply it resonated with audiences. They craved music that reflected their reality.
For sure.
Even the tough ones.
Okay, so Waterfalls explodes, right? It becomes this, like, cultural touchstone. But how did it change the game for other artists? Like, were there copycats? Did it, like, open the door for these tougher topics to be talked about in music?
It's funny you should mention that because our sources actually draw a direct line from Waterfalls to artists like, you know, Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar, who we see using their platforms for social commentary in really powerful ways, even today.
Whoa, really? I never even thought about it like that. But yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, TLC showed everyone, hey, you can be, like, commercially successful and speak truth to power. You know what I mean?
Precisely. And they proved that audiences were ready for it, you know? But it wasn't just about, like, the message.
Right.
It was about how that message was, like, delivered, right? Waterfalls kind of raised the bar for what music videos could be as a medium for storytelling.
Totally.
And even, like, activism, when you think about it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. They weren't just singing about these issues. They were showing them to you, like, right there on your screen, unavoidable. Okay, but tell me, what's something that surprised you in all this research? You said you even learned new things.
Oh, yeah, there were a couple of things. For one, I had no idea how personal the lyrics were for the songwriter, Marquise Etheridge. Like, he was apparently really, really close to TLC.
Okay.
and was inspired by people in his own life who were like, battling addiction.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah,
It just adds like a whole other layer to the song, knowing that it came from such a raw, real place.
totally.
And speaking of layers, Left Eye's verse always hits me hard, Something about the way she delivers those lines about chasing false dreams.
Yes. And our source actually goes into that, like how Left Eye herself was struggling with those very things. And those lyrics were like her way of, sharing her own truth.
Wow.
And warning others about those same pitfalls.
So like suddenly you're not just listening to a song, you're listening to someone like bearing their soul.
Yeah, totally.
And the fact that they chose to do that within this like catchy pop song just makes it even more impactful.
It does.
But it's not just the lyrics, right? The video itself, it's full of these little details that add to the message.
Absolutely. Like the use of cameos, for example, right?
Right.
Having those familiar faces, even just for a brief moment, draws the viewer in. And it adds like this layer of authenticity to it all,
Definitely.
And the way they kind of weave in historical footage it's actually it's brilliant.
It's so smart. You've got these real world events kind of playing out alongside the stories in the song, and like suddenly it just hits you. This isn't just entertainment. This is like a reflection of our world, of our history even.
They weren't just creating a music video. They were creating like a tapestry of like music, visuals, and social commentary.
Right.
And that's like a big part of why, it's stood the test of time.
Right.
But speaking of achievements, I mean, we can't forget the awards, right?
Oh, right. They didn't just top the charts. They took home a Grammy for Waterfalls.
Exactly. A Grammy win kind of solidifies its place in music history.
Oh, yeah.
Proving it wasn't just a catchy tune that faded away. It was something really, truly special.
It's kind of wild to think that a song like with such a powerful message also became this like massive pop culture moment, right? Like we all have those Waterfalls memories.
Right.
But it wasn't just like a catchy tune. It was reflecting something really, really important about what was going on in the world at the time.
Exactly. And, it's funny because we tend to like romanticize the 90s now. Right. But
We do.
Waterfalls kind of reminds us that, every era has its complexities.
Totally.
It's like this perfect snapshot of like the anxieties and the hopes of that generation.
It's so true.
All packaged into this like incredible song.
It really makes you wonder what Waterfalls they would make about today, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a thought-provoking question. What are some of the modern day waterfalls we should be wary of?
Ooh, that is a good one. I mean, honestly, like social media's got to be a big one.
Yeah.
Like it can be so alerting, so fun,
Right.
but it's so easy to get like swept up in that pressure to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
to like chase those likes and the validation and all of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes like at the expense of our own well-being.
It's that same allure of like instant gratification, right?
Totally.
Like just like the song says, chasing waterfalls, going over. And we see that playing out in so many aspects of like modern life,
Oh, yeah.
not just online.
And what's crazy is like, even though the technology has changed so much since '95, that core message of Waterfalls, it still resonates,
Yeah.
It's still about making choices, facing consequences, and just being aware of like the potential pitfalls on those paths that we choose.
It speaks to like the timelessness of the human experience,
Cool.
no matter what decade it is, we're still drawn to those waterfalls, those things that seem so enticing,
Yeah.
but might actually, lead us to trouble.
Right, exactly. Like TLC was tapped into something back then that we're like still trying to figure out now. So where does that leave us? Like if we're supposed to be like learning from Waterfalls, what's the takeaway for you?
I don't think it's about like finding, one right answer right. I think it's more about like asking ourselves the tough questions.
Okay.
Like what are our waterfalls,
Right.
right? And are we chasing them blindly?
Yeah.
Are we considering the potential consequences, both for ourselves and for other people?
So it's less about avoiding risk altogether, and it's more about like just being mindful of the risks we're taking.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between chasing our dreams, but being aware of the potential like pitfalls along the way.
Yeah.
And remembering that sometimes the most tempting paths are not always the safest ones.
Wow. Who knew that a deep dive into a 90s pop song would lead to such like profound introspection?
Right.
I think I need to go listen to Waterfalls again right now, but like with a whole new perspective this time.
I think we both do. It's a good reminder that Even the catchiest tunes can hold a lot of meaning. And sometimes those meanings, they have a way of like sticking with us
They do.
long after the music is over.
So true. Well, this was amazing. Thanks for diving deep on this one with me. This has been really, really interesting.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep those ears open and those minds curious. You never know what hidden depths you'll uncover.